Okay, let's get into painting this piece. Where you see the bark here, this is all the exposed rock, and everything where the Sculptamold is here, I'll have that all flocked. So what we're going for here is kind of a hill with some rock coming out. I'm gonna go with the Dutch licorice on the stone on this one. Really been into that lately. And I'm just going to paint up all my stone area. Anywhere any of that bark or the little rocks are, I wanna make sure I cover in this. It's okay if I overbrush onto the hill as well, where the flocking is, because again, I'm going to flock that. I'll bring that flocking down to the edges and fill all that in and blend it all together. So this is, when I'm painting the stone here, I can really be quite careless with where the paint goes. I don't have to be too careful. And I don't have to get a whole lot of coverage either. I can really just do basically one coat. I will get a smaller bristled paintbrush to get down into those spaces in there. You can see it. Okay, we'll let that all dry and come back and start doing our overbrushing and dry brushing. For my overbrush, I'm going to take some of that base layer paint and mix in a little bit of this Craft Smart Tan. And I know that's not a beautiful color, but it'll be a great color for this stone. All right, that didn't have a dramatic change. I'm building up layers. Next, I'll take that same color and just add some of the Craft Smart Vanilla just to lighten it up a bit. Building up layers, getting lighter and lighter. So now I've got this gray, very slightly blue leaning gray. I'm not pushing this down into the detail, into the cracks and crevices. I'm just grazing the surface, hitting the highlights, hitting those edges of things. So you can see here, this is before and after. And lastly, you guessed it, suede for the dry brush. You see the difference there between that and this. All right, that's all totally dry. I'm now going to go in with the black wash. Just using a mop brush. I am not painting the wash on per se. So I do not want to take the wash and go and do strokes and rehydrate this paint. I'm just mopping it on. I'm essentially going to load the mop brush up with wash and just let it roll off. I just gently sort of drag the brush over the surface, not going over the same spot more than once, maybe twice, letting the wash be pulled from the brush to the surface rather than pushed on. Because of the flow aid in the wash, it will naturally flow down into all those details on its own. I do not need to force the wash anywhere. I might just dab or stipple in a couple of spots where there are some deeper holes, but I'm not pressing or adding any pressure. Just again, letting the dryness of the surface pull the wash out of the brush. I'll let the excess sort of run off onto the parchment paper here. Go in with a paper towel and just dab off any pools that I have. Careful not to get the paper towel into the details either, because it will draw the wash back out again. So I'm just dabbing off the pooling that I have, so I don't have to wait for that to dry, and I don't want it to sit on the surface and create a veneer, if you will. Occasionally we'll have something like this where I do have a little bit of a pool I don't want, so I will go in and let that soak that up a bit. I'm going to go back in and do a little bit of edge highlighting with just some more of that suede, very extremely dry brush, and just downstrokes just to hit the top edges of the stone to create edge highlights where the light would be hitting the rock. All right, let's flock it up. I'm just using PVA glue. I will essentially spread it around wherever I want there to be flocking. Don't have to be too methodical with this either. I am using my dollar store floral moss that I could grind up in the coffee grinder for my flocking, as always. Sprinkle it on, press it into the glue. Good press. Tap off the extra. Just something like that. We'll keep going and cover this all up. I'm going to pay extra attention around the edges of these rocks, make sure the flocking fits in there. I'll even throw some little patches here and there sprinkled into the rock. Make sure I overbrush into the first batch of flocking I threw on so that I can blend those lines together. I have here a couple of spots that look like water might run down through there. And I'm going to just take my brown wash and my mop brush, just let some brown wash sort of run down through there a little, just let it run naturally down that little slope that appeared there. Do the same in this one too. It's not a necessary piece, but when that dries, it'll look like that's had water traveling through there and made it a little bit muddier. And there we have our little hill with the rock coming out there. And again, that Sculptamold product is great for building up terrain. That looks pretty good. I'm quite happy with that. What do you think? Any suggestions? And as always, any requests?